is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? I mean, come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing is important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Fine. Then let's race.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality and Trade Price Cars.
Welcome everyone to the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships from Whilton Mill. It is the IAME classes as we get ourselves ready for the finals in round 11 out of 12 here in a very cold and blustery September afternoon. It was very bright and breezy before. We had a little spattering of rain, nothing majorly heavy, but it certainly looks like those rain clouds could well be coming back to join us. Jake Sanson here, live from the Whilton Mill Bar and Bistro, opposite the start-finish line. It is a fantastic day of race action in front of us for the finals that could decide each of the four categories, and certainly tomorrow's finals will decide those championships. It is a very tight battle in each of our four categories in IAME classes across Mini, Junior and Senior X30 and the IAME Cadet. And we have plenty of great racers about to head their way out onto the circuit. Some exciting action across qualifying and heats over the course of the day thus far. All of the drivers are keeping their ear to the grindstone because the racing around this circuit is fast, furious and very technical. 1,190 metres around this infamous circuit, and it's definitely going to be a really exciting challenge, especially with those rain clouds and the wind patterns coming over the circuit. If they break during these races, it could throw everything up in the air. We've just witnessed the Junior X30 repechage, which has seen Sam Shaw, Harvey Ryby, Aaron Rashepi, Dan Butterworth, Casper Scusa and Freddie Spindlow make their way through, with Mikai Singh, Alex Moody and Ben Jenkins waiting to see if there are post-race decisions to give them any chance at all of continuing on the weekend. However, the Mini X30 drivers are getting themselves ready for the big show, and this is the one that they all came to race for and they all want to do well in. So now the Mini X30 Championship battle comes down to these final two races. And it is close in Mini X30 on dropped scores. It is Oliver Greenall who leads the championship on 497 once dropped scores are taken into account. Jessica Edgar is technically in second position, despite the fact that on the total championship points, she is fourth in the standings, my apologies. But on dropped scores, she is actually second in the rankings on 485. That's 1 point ahead of Theo Makuris and one more ahead of Luke Watts, with Bart Harrison and Olivier Algieri still technically in with a shout, but it is going to be very, very tough for them to do battle at the front end of the field. It all essentially for those two comes down to this race. If they can beat their opposition and get a decent result on the board, that they can drop a lower score, and that is going to bring them back into the game. But this is an important race for our top six in Mini X30. They all want to get a decent job of it done. And it's never, ever easy to predict, especially when you've got six drivers as close as these, as they have been all season long. Oliver Greenall, when he gets into the lead of a race, it's very hard to hold him back. And if he makes it through to that first couple of corners, none of these drivers around you are going to see which way he went. Jessica Edgar's form in the most recent rounds of the championship have been exceptional, particularly when you bear in mind her dominance at Three Sisters. That was something else for Mini X30, and really great to see her coming of age in this British Kart Championship. She still has a chance to win the whole thing. and continue the trend. In fact, I'm fairly sure she'd be the first ever British X30 champion to be a female, which would be an amazing opportunity for her. Obviously, we had 2 junior TKM titles in the last 2 years in the British Championships for Abby Pulling, but I don't think a woman has ever won an X30 British title. So that would be a fantastic accolade for Jessica Edgar, and she's definitely on the mark for it at the moment. However, Theo Makuris is still pushing his weight around the circuit in fine fettle for the Crop Promotion squad, and he's been very solid and consistent all the way through this latter part of the season. He's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on here. Very, very fast over the course of the weekend too. Luke Watts, do not count him out. He's there in the top 5 for the starting grid of this one, and his consistency is what has kept him in the game. He's been lightning fast, super smooth, and is very good at staying out of trouble. So he is one of the drivers to bank on in this situation. Oliver Greenall, pole position for this race from Aidan Line in second. Another great performance from the young Cato Motorsport driver, who in the second half of the season has been absolutely exceptional. Third for Bart Harrison, fourth on the grid for teammate Jessica Edgar, and then we have Luke Watts and Ed Pearson, the Coles Racing youngster, there in sixth position on the starting grid. Then, of course, we have great opposition from Theo Makuris in seventh on the grid, from Olivier Algieri, Alfie Baxter-Davies, Evan Brown, Ian Aguilera, Gabriel Stilp and Ashton Parsons to complete the grid. And, of course, as usual in the British Kart Championships field, 15 minutes on the clock. 16 degrees air temperature. Let's go racing. Mini X30 getting out on circuit. So the drivers are battling away for position on the formation lap. They will warm up the tyres and brakes, get them up to temperature, and then we will be ready for action. It's going to be a really tight battle for this Mini X30 title, and it comes right down to these last 2 finals, as everybody wants to get their way up at the sharp end of the field. Oliver Greenall and Aidan Line up at the front row of the starting grid, and either of these 2 drivers have the ability to win this race. Aidan Line in particular has had a massive surge of boost of confidence. Three Sisters did him the power of good in qualifying, and ever since then he's had great pace. He's not had a lot of luck, but he's been able to transform his own fortunes. Oliver Greenall, though, from the front of the field, he is the favourite for this one, having been solid and consistent throughout both of the earlier heats, and of course keeping that presence of mind through the qualifying that saw him in pole position, that saw him in second on the grid in time qualifying. Gabriel Stilp from the back of the field is one to watch, got excluded from a win earlier on today, and has a brilliant potential to come through the field. He was fastest of all in time qualifying, don't forget, so let's see if there is going to be a very close battle between them. So the drivers get themselves into position, out of the final turn. Are we going to get a lights away straight away? We are not. It's a false start. So false start to get us underway. Unfortunately, there is not going to be a start on this occasion. The field was not quite in the positions they needed to be in the tram lines. So a false start for the first Mini X30 final of the weekend. On the run around the circuit again on the formation lap up towards Christmas, one of the toughest corners in British motorsport. One of my personal favourites though as well. Very technical, uphill gradient, very challenging, and hard on the tyre wear if you get it wrong. Then we're into this midi twisty section of the circuit, and of course they've gone around again, so the field will form up once more as they drop down through this middle sector of the lap. A very, very technical challenge, this circuit, and obviously all of the drivers know just how tough it can be, especially now that we've got these rain clouds coming over. If it rains during this race, we are in for a seriously exciting battle in Mini X30. So the drivers are into their positions once again. Greenall, Line, Harrison, Edgar, Watts, Pearson, Makuris, Algieri, Baxter-Davies, Brown, Aguilera, Stilp and Parsons, and we are getting ourselves ready for the penultimate final of the season in British Mini X30. So Greenall and Line together again on that front row of the starting grid. It's going to be an interesting one as they run together out of the final turn. Are we going to get a start this time? Yes, we are, and away we go racing. Great start from the outside line. Harrison pushes forward with our pole sitter Greenall, and they are going to go through the first corner, no problem at all. So 1 and 2 for the Fusion boys. Watts in a third position. Nice run from them as they head up to Christmas for the first time, breaking into that tight right-hand hairpin. No problems at all in the leading group, and everyone's made it through nice and safe and sound. So Greenall from Harrison out in the first part of the race. Third position, that is Luke Watts, and then in fourth place still Aidan Line holding his run in the top 6. Pearson swarming all over the back of Jessica Edgar as they run into the pair of left-handers in the middle part of the sector. Roll off the power, hug in back off the curb, then onto the back straight and up towards the boot. This is the technical part, and Watts is going for Harrison, already into the ankle. Lovely job there as he goes through the toe, the double apex, right-handers, and then into the heel, out of the final turn. This is a brilliant run from Watts, and he's into second place already. So Greenall, Watts, Harrison, Line, Edgar, Pearson, Makuris, Algieri, Aguilera, Baxter-Davies, Stilp, Brown and Parsons. And as they come through up towards Christmas, a really exciting run already kicks off from Watts. So Watts is trying to chase down. That's Edgar through into 4th place on Aiden Line. Nice move there through the hairpin. So far so good for Watts. He is bearing down on Greenhill, big style. Meanwhile, Harrison in 3rd place. Edgar running well in 4th in front of Line. And there in 6th position is Ed Pearson. Pearson swarming around all over the back of Aiden Line as they come up to the double right apex, double left apex even, through the 2nd sector. Back on that back straight once again. And up into the boot. Watts is charging on the back of the GP plate. Oliver Greenhill, there could be a strong move here anytime soon. Watts having a look into the toe of the boot. Not quite going to get there through the heel. And into oblivion, that first right-hander after the left flick, and some good racecraft already in Mini X30. They're trying to get themselves into a solid rhythm. They know it's a long race here, 13 minutes still on the clock, plus the additional lap once time has come down to 0. They run through in position, out through the right kink, down the drop into the hairpin. A very good run here in the 1st sector from Watts, still charging after Greenhill. Will he push away with him? Oh, there's a problem for Gabriel Stilp. Gabriel Stilp's had an issue there and drops down to, that is going to put him all the way down, I'm afraid, to 12th position. So a problem there for Gabriel Stilp. I'm not sure if he made a mistake or if someone decided to give him no room at all to play with. But down to 12th he goes, still trying to charge his way forward. A very frustrated Gabriel Stilp trying to make a comeback. So Greenhill and Watts trying to charge away. Harrison is being caught by Jess Edgar. Ed Pearson has got past Line for 5th, and Theo Makuris is still there in P7 trying to make a gain. Algieri is there in 8th position from the Mexican, Ian Aguilera, and then it's Baxter Davies, Brown, Stilp and Parsons. Now, it looks to me as though Harrison and Edgar are teaming up in order to help out Greenhill to a certain extent. They are closing in on the battle for the lead of the race. Meanwhile, we've still got Pearson, and then, of course, Line and Makuris battling for 5th position. Then it's Algieri, and in front of Ian Aguilera, so Algieri and Aguilera still battling away over 8th place. Meanwhile, Watts is going to push forward. Here comes Edgar, up the inside of Harrison, into 3rd position for Jess Edgar. Lovely overtake there into the heel of the boot, into the ankle of the boot, into the left-hander. Then they come through the apex of the toe, and then through the heel, and across the line once again. 11 minute 45 on the clock. So Greenhill, Watts, Edgar, Harrison, Pearson, Makuris. A very good run so far. So Makuris has got into 6th place, having made the move now on Aiden Line. He's setting off in pursuit of Ed Pearson. So that's Makuris up into 6th place. Out of Christmas, through the right kink, and then up to the hairpin. This is going to be a tight battle for Watts. He's in a really tricky situation here. Edgar's gaining ground, and he knows he's got to deal with Greenhill, but he wants to push away with Greenhill and then battle in the closing stages. Edgar's not going to give them the chance to do that. She is so rapid over 1 lap here at Whilton Mill. So Watts needs to make a decision here. Does he break rank and go past Greenhill, or does he continue to work with him in the hope that he can hold off Jess Edgar? Down through the heel of the boot, into the main straight once again. Great racing so far, and still Watts is pushing away with Oliver Greenhill. So far, it's worth keeping it as it is. They are running well in connection with each other. Up the hill towards Christmas, into the right-hander, and Watts is just keeping it honest with Greenhill, but Edgar is definitely gaining ground on them both. She's gone purple in the 1st split and the 2nd and 3rd splits of the last lap to get fastest lap of all. So Edgar is all over the back of the leading 2. 4th place is Harrison, 5th is Pearson, then it's Makuris and Aiden Line, then it's that battle for 8th between Algieri and Aguilera. Neither driver quite able to keep up the pace at the moment. Watts is being so cautious here. He doesn't want to push this too early. He needs to get himself in the right frame of mind to make the move for Greenhill. He's got to pace himself, but Edgar's right there now. Edgar is on the back of them. So Edgar has made the gain, and this is definitely coming to Jess Edgar. She's got a great opportunity now. She just needs to stay hungry, stay focused, and she's got an opportunity. So up towards Christmas again, and Jess Edgar is eating at that gap with the 2 leaders. It's only a cart's length now between her and 2nd place Watts. Watts is flirting with the bumper of Greenhill's cart as they go through the hairpin. Up towards the double left apex, dropping down the incline. Meanwhile, further back in the pack, we've got Makuris closing up on Pearson for 5th position, and we've also got Aguilera still hustling Algieri as they battle away for position in 8th and 9th. And then in 10th place, trying to stay with them, that is the 31. That, of course, is Alfie Baxter Davies. Then it's Brown, Stilp and Parsons. But the leading 3 come across the line again. 9:25 on the clock. Another lap completed, and we're into lap 8 here at Whilton Mill. In terms of the championship fight on dropped scores, Jess Edgar, well, drop scores have not taken into effect on the virtual championship board so far, but overall Jess Edgar is going to tie with Watts if it stays like this. So she wants to get into that 2nd place move to really hammer it home. The top 3 drivers in the race are the top 3 drivers in the championship in that order. as it stands at the moment. If it stays this way, then Greenall's going to get 6:15, and both Watts and Edgar will have 6:01 apiece. But that is, of course, before drop scores are taken into account. Into the chicane they come, dropping down the drop again. This is going to be tight for the guys up front. Here they come once more. Oliver Greenall still hanging on in there. 8 minutes 34 on the clock, and still Watts is hustling Greenall. Greenall signalling to Watts. Watts is not prepared to wait around. He goes for the move into Christmas, and Edgar's going as well. But Watts is through. Watts gets there and into the lead. So Greenall is now going to hustle in behind Watts into the hairpin. Now this is a big problem for Greenall. He knows that Jessica Edgar is going to be threatening to make a pass of her own. She almost got the move done into Christmas at the same time. Watts did not want to be the biggie in the middle for any longer, especially with Jess Edgar now bearing down on both drivers. Can Jess Edgar make the lunge into the boot? She's thinking about it. Oh, she got caught out there between a rock and a hard place in the braking zone for the ankle. So now they come up to the heel, out into the final turn and through that main straight once again. A really strong battle coming up, but Watts is now the man at the front of the field, trying to hold station and trying to hold the line. So Edgar and Greenall are going to work together. They're both going to storm past Watts. Teamwork, and they're both going to get there. Brilliant move from Greenall. Fantastic from Jess Edgar to do the cooperation. So now they are 1 and 2, but now Greenall's defending. We are halfway through this race, and Greenall has already hit the pause button. Amazing. So Greenall has decided, well, now I'm in the lead. I can't stretch away. I'm just going to have to hold anchor and keep this lead on our own. But this is an amazing squabble. Here comes Watts again, up the inside of Jess Edgar. Oh, no, the driver holding up. Edgar defends beautifully. Nicely done from Jess Edgar, holding the inside line in the apex, and she will not give way. Brilliant bit of racing. Oh, and Watts is getting feisty through the first corner. Elbows out for Watts. Oh, and that's Edgar through. Edgar's off. Edgar's off. So Edgar's gone off on the first turn and out of the race. Unbelievable for Jess Edgar. Well, Watts was going for the move on the inside line. I don't know what happened, but Jess Edgar is out of the kart and out of the race. That is a disaster for Jessica Edgar. After her dominance at Three Sisters, she is now out of the race. And that means that Watts is second and Pearson is suddenly up to third. What's happened to Harrison? Harrison's dropped back behind Pearson and McCouris. So Harrison must have got caught up in it some way as well. But Jessica Edgar is out of the race, and now here comes Ed Pearson. Pearson is tracking down Watts. Ed Pearson is one of these tigerish drivers. He's so good at getting himself into contention at the last minute, and here he is in third, swarming around behind Watts, but he doesn't want to make the overtake. He wants to work with him to close back up to Greenall. Then they've got a chance at the win, and McCouris, all of a sudden in fourth place, has got a chance at this now as well. So Watts and Pearson need to work together to decimate the gap back to Greenall. Greenall has already got over a second on them now. 1.3 as they came across the line last time by. These three have got to team up now. They've got to work together if they're going to close up on Oliver Greenall. So an amazing squabble developing between these three in second place, and in fifth place is Bart Harrison. Sixth position, that is Olivier Algieri. No, that's Aidan Line, my apologies. Then it is Aguilera in front of Algieri. So Algieri has slipped back into eighth in front of Stilt and Baxter Davies. And then we've got Ashton Parsons, I think, still running there behind Evan Brown. But Jessica Edgar, sadly, is out of this race. What a shame. She was driving so beautifully. And unfortunately, it just ended up she ended up going wide at Oblivion, and the kart couldn't move any further. So that is game over, I'm afraid, for Jess Edgar. But this battle for second, Pearson's through now into second. Pearson into second place, past Watts. Watts is coming straight back at him, into the ankle of the boot. Slides out sideways, tries to get the switch back on the toe. And a nice bit of driving there from Watts, hangs on, but Pearson and McCouris are going to charge forward again to Watts. They're going to try and make this bid to come further forward up through the order. A lovely bit of racecraft. And still they battle forward. Up the climb, on the inside, Pearson's going to make the move into Christmas, and he's there. Lovely overtake from Pearson, back into P2 for the Coles driver. Now, this is dramatically going to change things in terms of the championship. Edgar's retirement drops her to fourth in the standings if it stays like this, when she would have been joint second. So a disaster for Jess Edgar in terms of her current position. But for Oliver Greenall, this is like a fairy tale. He's looking at 6:15 compared to Luke Watts on 6:01. Although that's going to drop again now because Ed Pearson has got through in a second. So Greenall is at this point, but there's still a long way to go. 3.5 minutes today and 15 more minutes tomorrow after all of the time qualifying sessions and heats. So far so good for Oliver Greenall. Ed Pearson running in second place. Third for Watts. Is Watts going to make his own move? Well, McCurris has actually backed down a little bit from the challenge. He's going to back off and then come straight back into it. So Pearson holding on to second. A lovely drive from him in this one. The Coles Racing driver, so good at reading these situations. He never gets flustered, never overeager, and just lets the race come to him. He's so good at this, Ed Pearson. And there he is again, out into the third sector. A really nice run. Here comes Luke Watts. Can he slide it up the inside? The Cato Motorsport driver swarming around all over the back of Pearson. Theo McCurris is still in the hunt. And there's going to be a great little squabble between these two. Out onto the home straight once again. 3 minutes 6 on the clock as they go over the line. So still got this battle further back between Algieri, Aguilera, and now Gabriel Stilp has joined that battle. So it's a 3-man scrap as they race for position. But Oliver Greenall still leading the race and doing a fine job of it. Pearson, Watts and McCurris very close. They're running out of time to do something about this to Greenall. 2:43 on the clock. And the gap is a whopping 1.6. That is almost looking impossible. So I think Watts now has to assign himself to the fact that second place is all he's going to get from this one. But only if he can get back past Ed Pearson. Pearson is trying to close up on Greenall. But that incident between Edgar and Watts and Harrison has definitely opened up the gap between Pearson and the race leader Oliver Greenall. So Oliver Greenall is your leader, Pearson second, third is Watts, and fourth place is McCurris. It's going to be a very tight fight as they continue to battle away for position. We're going to see some really exciting racing between these guys as the battle continues on down into the hairpin. So far a fairly decent squabble, and it continues as they march their way around this circuit. But into the last 2 minutes of the final here, Greenall running a grand race as he comes into the bottom of the left-hand drop onto the back straight, parallel to the race finish. Racecraft here from Pearson, the back end slides out, he manages to catch it, but Watts is back on the inside line. Can he hold it into the final turn? Yes, he can. So Watts is back through in a second, but here comes McCurris. Pearson getting straight back into it through the first bend. What a move from Pearson! Oh my word, Ed Pearson not going to back down from the fight at all. And that's such a hard overtake to pull off in turn one because the back end sliding around, there's no grip on that inside line and you're sliding around hoping the other driver comes through. McCurris has now broken into third place past Watts as a result. Pearson stands on the inside line. No way are you getting past. Brilliant bit of racecraft from Pearson. McCurris now going for the inside line for second place. Pearson holds him at bay. A great little squabble going on further back as well now because Gabriel Stilp has got past his adversaries. And now Aguilera is battling away with Baxter Davies and Algieri. But Pearson runs in front of McCurris, Watts, and here comes Harrison. Harrison's getting back into it now. 2 laps to go. And it is just 2 laps to go as they come across the line this time. But what a squabble in the final bend we got. Baxter Davies squabbling away here with Aguilera and Algieri. And round the outside, Watts is going round the outside of McCurris into third position. What a move from Watts. And now Harrison getting his way back into it. Pearson trying to hold on the inside line. Watts coming around the outside. McCurris shuffling. Fourth position. Harrison in fifth place. And now right at the back of the queue is Aidan Line. He's come back into it. Holding the inside line, Harrison protects in fifth position. Aidan Line can't find a way by. Watts is still there, hovering around in third. Protects the inside line now from McCurris, who drops back to the inside of the apex. Meanwhile, Greenall goes into the last lap. So, Titanic scrap for second place. 5 of the minute. Pearson, Watts, McCurris, Harrison, Line. What an amazing battle into the last lap for second place. Pearson's got protection, but McCurris and Watts are working towards the Coles driver. Now they're side by side out of Christmas nearly. And still, Pearson holds second place for the moment. Don't be defensive, Ed. You've got plenty of time to play with. Watts tries to slide up the inside of Pearson from a long way back to hold off McCurris and Harrison, but he's not able to make the gain. In fact, he's lost ground to McCurris now. Harrison will want to make the dive. Can't quite make the move, stick on the inside line. Has to protect from line. But Greenall is going to come through the heel of the boot to get the victory in the most important race of the year to do so. Greenall gets the victory. Fantastic performance. Second place for Pearson, but it's going to be third for Watts. Aidan Line in fifth position. Watts gets there into third place in front of McCurris, Line and Bart Harrison. What a fight in the last lap. Absolutely amazing. You've got to hand it to all 5 drivers in that race. They were so closely matched. But what a result. And I have to say, the top 3 that end up on the podium are the right 3 that end up on the podium. Greenall with a brilliant job. Ed Pearson fighting beautifully to second place for Coles. And in third, a feisty drive from Luke Watts to keep himself in the fight for the title. What a job from Ed Pearson. Ed Pearson did an absolutely fantastic job. Great performance from the Coles Racing team. So an absolutely sensational performance from Ed Pearson in second place. Greenall gets a fantastic victory, and third for Luke Watts. So it's Greenall, Pearson and Watts who come through. Thea McCurris in fourth place from Aidan Lyon and Bart Harrison. Gabriel Stilp is seventh in front of Alfie Baxter-Davies and Ian Aguilera. Then Olivier Algieri, Evan Brown and Ashton Parsons. And of course, rather sadly, we lost Jessica Edgar in the early stages of the race when she pulled off on lap 11. What a disaster for her chances in the championship fight. However, for Oliver Greenall and Luke Watts, it's very much game on heading into tomorrow. There are 16 points between them heading into tomorrow's final. But of course, drop scores still have to be taken into account. It's going to be a mighty, mighty close battle in Mini X30 tomorrow. We're going to see some amazing racecraft from them if today's final is anything to go by. Congratulations to Oliver Greenall. Did an absolutely sensational job of hanging on there in the early stages when the pressure was sky high. And Ed Pearson and Luke Watts bagging themselves podiums when it mattered. McCurris still in the hunt in fourth place. He's third in the championship fight, 2 points back from Watts and 18 behind Greenall. So there's still a long way to go. But with the Senior X30 final up next, it is going to be very, very hard pushed from them to try and beat them in terms of intensity. Really exciting stuff.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy, lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
But hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up a show.
Fine. Then let's race.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
The engine revs come on as we go racing again here at Whilton Mill, and it's the Senior X30 final. What a battle it's going to be here in final one of the weekend, Saturday afternoon. Thomas Turner and Danny Curl on the front row of the starting grid from Gus Lawrence and Oliver Hodgson. Then Matt Armstrong and Matthew Hudson from Archie Tillett and Jensen Brown. Thomas Fleming lines up on the same row of the grid as the Scotsman Jack Gordon. And then it's going to be Lewis Gilbert and Rory Hudson from Derek Morgan and Eduardo Cosateng. Alexander Wang and Morgan Porter from Alexander Patterson and Ryan Green. Reese Ushijima, Caleb Marshall, Alex Pendlebury, Callum Driscoll, Abigail Ross, Henry Ayres, Ben Hodge, Cole Kilner, Josh Graham, Mario Zelletti, Rufus Hunt, Tom Nippers and Harry Barlow. So the drivers make their way onto the back straight as they have warmed up the tyres and brakes to the right temperature. They've got to be absolutely on their A game to get into this one. It's going to be tight, it's going to be close, but it's going to be mighty feisty. They really want to get this race to the absolute peak of intensity. And of course, the two top men in the title fight now are on the front row of the grid. Thomas Turner and Danny Curl. This is going to be an amazing squabble. Can Danny Curl do the unthinkable? Having missed the first round of the championship, can he bounce back to win the British title? We'll find out this weekend. Is it going to be a good start? Nope, a false one. It is a false one on this occasion. The pressure is just too high for the drivers. Looked to me as though Thomas Turner got just a little bit too eager getting away from the grid. So he blasted away a little bit too gingerly. Obviously, they've got to be very careful. All the carts have to be very much formed and in their tram lines. So on that particular occasion, Nigel Edwards wasn't particularly satisfied with that one, so they're going to go round again and do it one more time. Looks to me as though we're missing somebody. I think it is the BMR of Thomas Fleming. So where is Thomas Fleming out on the circuit? Either that or he's got a transponder issue. I'll double check through the pack, but I thought I saw Thomas Fleming in the BMR. Yeah, he is there, so an issue with his transponder. It's not that he's out of the race. So Thomas Fleming still running well. And he is one of the dark horses for this race, to be fair. He's got a great opportunity. Weaving from side to side, drivers trying to get heat into the tyres. We'll see a lot of very bold charges through the field. Incredibly, we've got Morgan Porter in the middle of the field. There's a few other big names trying to charge their way through from the mid-section of the field. Lewis Gilbert for Strawberry Racing in there with teammate Jack Gordon. But it's Turner versus Curl on the front row of the grid. They have got this very, very slow out of the final turn. So hopefully this is going to be the start they wanted. Are we going to get a clean getaway? Yes, we are! And away we go racing. Turner in front of Gus Lawrence off the grid. Danny Curl slots back into third position. The field charges its way through the first corner. And has everybody got through cleanly? Looks like it's a fairly decent start. But Gus Lawrence has got straight through into second place, tucked up behind Thomas Turner, with Danny Curl in there in third position, trying to fend everybody off through Christmas. Everyone's nice and clean, exactly as we wanted it. Now we've got Hodgson battling away there with teammate Archie Tillett as they run in 5th and 6th position, running very cleanly through the mid-pack, and still no major fisticuffs. Danny Curl still hanging on in 3rd position, and for the lead, Gus Lawrence gets Thomas Turner in through the second apex down the incline. Gus Lawrence hits the front. Well, how good was he at BF International at the start of the season? So he has done an absolutely fantastic job to move his way further forward. So now Gus Lawrence in front of Thomas Turner, Danny Curl, and the 19 in there in 4th position. That is Matt Armstrong. So a really solid effort from the first 4 drivers as they come through. And then behind our top 4, it is Hodgson, Tillett, Fleming, Brown, Morgan, Gilbert, Hudson, Huang, Porter and Ushijima in front of Eduardo Kosatek. A little bit of a shuffle in through Christmas. A couple of drivers getting sideways. Ushijima trying to get up the inside of one of his rivals there. That's one of the Dan Holland Racing drivers that's ended up down the order. I think that is Rory Hudson. So Rory Hudson appears to have had a moment somewhere out on track. But it's Gus Lawrence on the Tony Kart, run by V Motorsport, leading the way out front. And then it's Thomas Turner. A great little squabble just in behind the top 6 at the moment as well. For 7th place, it's absolutely electric. As now we've got the 15 in there leading the charge. That is Jensen Brown in front of Tillett, Morgan, Gilbert and Hudson. Thomas Fleming is in there in 6th position, of course. Still trying to make his way through. Oh, problems for Abigail Ross. Abigail Ross had a bit of an issue there out of the final turn, and that's cost her a couple of places. Not sure what it was, but Ross unfortunately dropping down the order. Meanwhile, we've got a great tussle with Derek Morgan and Alexander Wang. The Singaporean is really trying to get himself up there. Oh no, wait, that's his teammate. That's Matthew Hudson. So Matthew Hudson is making good gains as he tries to make his way up through the field. 12 minutes and 50 on the clock. Gus Lawrence is still your race leader from Thomas Turner and Danny Curl. Now, what does this do in terms of the championship fight? Well, it puts Turner 6 points in front of Clayton Ravenscroft. It will not change his position in the championship fight. So he's still going to have a really intense run as the battle continues on all the way through this race. But Danny Curl is going to get himself up the order very smartly indeed here. So we're going to get to see a really close, intense battle as they continue to charge forward. But this will be a very tight run all the way through this race. Gus Lawrence in front of Thomas Turner and Danny Curl. 4th place is Armstrong. Then it is Oliver Hodgson in front of Thomas Fleming. So the top 6 remain as they are. 7th place, that is Tillett in front of Jensen Brown. Then it is Hudson, Morgan, and the 29 is in the mix there as well. That is Lewis Gilbert doing a grand job. Still Derek Morgan. Lovely to see Derek Morgan running that tribute front fairing this weekend in honour of his late grandfather. The black front fairing with the message on the insignia on the front of it. Very, very fitting from the privateer. And great to see him doing it in style as Lewis Gilbert gets up the inside of him in Christmas. Is Morgan Porter going to get through as well? No, he does not. So Derek Morgan hangs onto the position very nicely indeed there. They run through, out through the double left apex down the incline. Up to the hairpin once again. So far so good as they now run on the back straight. Lawrence, Turner, Curl. 19 is Armstrong still from Hodgson and Fleming. Top 6 as they were. Tillett still 7th, having got past Jensen Brown a couple of laps ago. So good for Gus Lawrence and not bad at all for Armstrong. So the racing continues. No major problems at the moment. 11 minutes to go. The Senior X30 has got itself into a nice little rhythm out there at the moment. No major catastrophes, and certainly everybody going the distance at the present moment. They've kept it nice and clean out there on the racetrack, which is exactly as we were hoping they would. And in Senior X30 so far, things are going well as Derek Morgan flings it up the inside in the right-hand hairpin in the second sector. And there's a chance now for him to close that door on Alexander Wang. And he has managed to do so. So a nice bit of racecraft there from Derek Morgan. And he's got Reese Ojajima now all over the back of him as Alexander Wang drops to the back of the queue. And Alexander Wang has now got some places to make up here as he tries to close up on the 10 of Rory Hudson. And Reese Ojajima has gone in front of him as well. So Reese Ojajima running well for the Beer Sexton Racing team. They continue to charge the battle forward. So out in front, it is still Gus Lawrence from Thomas Turner and Danny Curl. 4th place for Armstrong. Then it is Oliver Hodgson closing in on that top 4 a little bit now. And in 6th place, still Fleming with Tillett running well in 7th in front of Jensen Brown. And then we've got Hudson running there in 9th position. That is Matthew Hudson in front of Lewis Gilbert and Morgan Porter. So still a reasonable battle going on between these few drivers as the race continues to rip-roar around the circuit. After this one, of course, it is the Army Cadet final, but the Senior X30 battle still running strong. They come across the line again, 9.5 on the clock. Still plenty of time to make as they race their way further forward. So Lawrence, Turner, Curl, Armstrong, Hodgson, Fleming, Tillett, Brown, Hudson. Really exciting stuff up in the lead battle. And even in this rear end of the field, we've got some great squabbles as the 14, Abigail Ross, tries to get back on terms with the 70 of Ryan Green. So a nice little squabble there as they battle away for position. But in the mid-pack, we've got some great racecraft still coming through as that is Alexander Wang now all over back of one of the KR Sport drivers. That's got to be Eduardo Cosateng, and it is the Filipino, number 12, running through. But Danny Curl sat in 3rd position behind Thomas Turner, patiently ticking over time, hoping he's going to get a decent run of it. But it's very tight up at that front end of the field. Derek Morgan now on the inside of Eduardo Cosateng in the final bend, and now Wang's going to try and make the same move on Morgan. Neither driver's backing out of it, and they go through absolutely together. They both managed to get through, but that was very tight. Great racing in the midfield. Some proper wheel-to-wheel stuff continuing on here at Whilton Mill as they come out of the Christmas complex into the next part. And up the inside, that was a very late lunge from Cosateng. Gets through on Alexander Wang. Watch out for the man in there as well. That is Rory Hudson trying to make a gain or two. But Alexander Wang uses terrific racecraft there to get himself back in the action. The Singaporean having an absolutely brilliant run. He now races in there with a 39. That is the hard-charging Alex Pendlebury. Pendlebury trying to get up the inside now. Pendlebury there on the inside line. Lovely job from Pendlebury. That was a beautiful overtake. So some really good dicing, and he gets his place. So now we have Gus Lawrence out in front of Thomas Turner. 3rd place for Danny Curl. 4th is Armstrong. 5th is Hodgson. And 6th still Tom Fleming. Nothing has changed in that top 6 for a while. Tillett's still running well in 7th place. Up to 8th now has come Matthew Hudson for the Mick Barrett Racing team. Good performance there from Matthew Hudson. So looking through this order, we have got, let me just try and work this out. We have got 6 different teams in the top 6 places. Really exciting to see how close it is at this level. Lawrence, Turner, Curl, Armstrong, Hodgson and Fleming. And then we've got Archie Tillett for the PFI squad in 7th place. In fact, I'm fairly sure that is the only team that has got 2 representatives in the top 10. Because you've got Jensen Brown for DHR. Morgan Porter in the M Sport is in behind Jensen Brown for the DHR, and of course Matthew Hudson for Mick Barrett Racing is in there. So yes, the only team that's got 2 drivers national squad. Hodgson in 5th and Tillett in 7th. Everybody else, there's a different team member in the top 10. So Lawrence, Turner, Curl, Armstrong, Hodgson and Fleming, and then it's Tillett from Hudson, Brown and Porter. Then Lewis Gilbert in 11th from Reese Ojajima and Rory Hudson. And then we've got Derek Morgan, the privateer from Cosateng. Pendlebury, the 73 is next in. That is Cole Kilner. And then we've got Alex Wang from Jack Gordon. Truly sensational racing around this circuit here in Senior X30. We're in the second half of the race, and Danny Curl is stepping up the attack on Thomas Turner. And he needs to make this happen now because the O-Plate is about to take a firm lead in the championship here by running in front of Danny Curl. Curl has not finished a race outside the top 3 all season, and in 3rd place, this is going to be one of his lowest scores of the season, but he's going to need to count it because of course he missed the first round of the championship at PFI, so he will need to get into second place as soon as possible here, really, because Thomas Turner is going to take. So out in front, Gus Lawrence still running a great race for V Motorsport, but still Thomas Turner and Danny Curl running a good solid race in there as well. So some really exciting racecraft up at the front end of the field. Meanwhile, Oliver Hodgson is starting to reel in. So Armstrong has got a little bit of work to do here to fend off from Oliver Hodgson. And just outside that, we've got Morgan Porter really giving Jensen Brown the hurry up. So Morgan Porter's got a good chance to move forward. And obviously there, Jensen Brown running a very solid race. So, still a long way to go. A very tough battle in the offing. Danny Curl has got right up to the back of Thomas Turner now as they battle over second place. And for fourth, Armstrong's going to try and keep Hodgson at bay. Porter has now. So he's tucked up now behind Matthew Hudson. So Morgan Porter has got himself past Brown as the races really start to rock now. There's a slippery oil flag down at the first corner. And I think that's because of a retirement. That's Mario Zaletti. So Mario Zaletti appears to have come off the circuit at the first corner. And the oil flag is out there on the start-finish line. So Zaletti's kart clearly must have been leaking fluid at the first corner, because that is now a serious problem at turn one. I think Zaletti's kart has now been removed, but certainly the oil flags are still down there. Slippery oil flags for Zaletti's kart, which is pulled off. Now that could be a real problem going through that first bend. So we'll see how the drivers cope with it into turn one. So far so good for Gus Lawrence. Turner and Curl still running well through that first couple of corners, so it can't be that bad an issue. Certainly just a precautionary for the drivers out there. I haven't seen anybody major from the front end of the field falling off the road, but drivers obviously need to be very careful and very wary of the fact opening sector. But for the time being, it's all well and good. Oh, that's one of the KRs that's dropped out of the field. That's one of the KRs. That's Henry Ayres who's out of it. Henry Ayres is out, and now so too is Alexander Patterson. So Alexander Patterson for the Mick Barrett Racing team, he's pulled off the circuit now as well. So that's three of them, and it looks as though Ayres and Patterson went off on the same lap. Now I don't know if that's related or not, because they do appear to have stopped out in different parts of the circuit. But a very fed up Henry Ayres has pulled his kart out of the race, and now he has ended up at one of the marshal posts. His day is over. So the race continues on with 3 minutes and 15 on the clock. It's going to be very tight between Lawrence, Turner, Curl, Hodgson, Armstrong and Fleming still, especially now that Danny Curl has reeled in Thomas Turner, and he's only got 3 minutes to do anything about the comp cart up front. So he'll be wanting to make a move sooner rather than later, and it is going to be a tough battle into that final turn. So let's see how the drivers continue. In through the final hairpin and onto the main straight again, the 82 of Gus Lawrence, running a great race. But he has really taken control of this one. He wanted to win the final so badly here this weekend to give himself the best possible chance of making progress through the field. So it looks as though he's going to have a great opportunity to do so. But now the battle is going to rage to the bitter end as Gus Lawrence runs in front of Thomas Turner and Danny Curl. But Danny Curl still wants to make an impression on Thomas Turner. There's still time to make up, and there's still going to be a rip-roaring battle for second place between these two. Danny Curl now really starting the assault on Thomas Turner. He's been keeping power in reserve, the Jade Racing driver here. He'll want to make his move with his least. Just waiting to see what the clouds do overhead now as well, because it's really starting to pick up. One half of the circuit is overcast, the other half is clear blue sky, but the sun is nowhere to be seen, really. Just the residual light from it coming over the circuit. Now Danny Curl reeling in Thomas Turner. Hodgson, meanwhile, has got past into fourth position, past Armstrong. So Hodgson has dealt with Matt Armstrong, and he's now in P4. So that is Hodgson now fourth position in front of Armstrong and Fleming. Then it is Tillett in front of Porter. And then we have Matthew Hudson there in ninth position, currently running in front of Jensen Brown. So it's up to Danny Curl now. When's he going to make the move on Thomas Turner? The run for second position. Very, very tight. Gus Lawrence seems to have the victory up front, so there's no major difficulties from that side of things. And still, Danny Curl all over the back of Thomas Turner. Hodgson trying to close in on them, but he's got about 2 seconds to make up nearly. So it is going to be a tough battle for Hodgson to gain ground. In fact, it's over 2 seconds now. So Hodgson has got to resign himself really to the fact that this battle for the podium is over unless there's an incident in front. And we're into the closing minute of the race. So when they come across the line this time by, we're only going to get 2 more laps. Gus Lawrence runs well here. But can Danny Curl make the move on Thomas Turner for second place? He has been hustling him all race long, and he's been breathing his exhaust fumes all race long. Now he's got a chance to go for it. Down the main straight. 30 seconds left as the second and third place battle go across the line. It's going to be tight between these two, but Danny Curl will want to make his impact in this race fairly rapidly. They come into Christmas. Off the turn. Up the incline once again. This is not going to be easy to pull off, and he knows it. Thomas Turner's defending. Danny Curl's going to try and make the bid. So Turner defends. Making the car very wide through the tighter apexes of the course into the second sector. Holding Danny Curl at bay. Danny Curl wise to it, drops back a little bit. Hoping to make his way through solidly. This is going to be an interesting run as they come through. And up towards the toe of the boot. But Gus Lawrence goes into the last lap. A great run for Gus Lawrence here. But it's Turner and Curl to choose between them. Danny Curl has taken a couple of checks there to move himself back a little bit further to have another crack up the inside of the man in second place, Thomas Turner. He goes through Christmas. He's gained a little bit of ground there. Through the right flick at Inkermans. He's got a little bit of ground made up there as well. Into Ashby, the hairpin. No problem at all. He's getting a perfect lap here, Danny Curl. He may just be able to throw one on the inside of Thomas Turner when the O-plate is not looking. So Gus Lawrence is going to take the win. Who's going to be second? Turner still hanging on in front of Danny Curl. Turner is producing a qualifying lap when it counts to stay in. Going to finish. Gus Lawrence gets the victory in the final. Brilliant race from Gus Lawrence and a great run from Turner and Danny Curl in second and third. Hodgson for sixth place in front of Tillett and Porter. Hudson is there in the top 10 for Mick Barrett Racing, and Jensen Brown completes the 10 in front of Lewis Gilbert. Brilliant battle in Senior X30. It's been a really strong run, and oh, how close was that between Turner and Curl. But Thomas Turner needed a quick lap at the end there. He dug deep and he found one. A really solid effort there to keep himself in the game. Absolutely sensational performance there from those two. They really have given us plenty of entertainment, and now we're going to see what happens as a result. Absolutely sensational performance from our competitors in Senior X30. They've given us plenty to talk about and plenty to do going into tomorrow. However, now we're going to see a very interesting challenge for the drivers as they get themselves ready for a absolutely spellbinding encounter, as now we get ready for the IAME Cadet Final for the penultimate time in 2019.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
Oh, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Fine. Then let's race.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.